want to build an AI/LMM. I want to do it in Python. I have no Python experience. I want to start from scratch. Let's do it in thinking, and let's just run with that. Let's see what it says. Setting up exercises and roadmap. Looking good. Alright. Let's start from zero and aim you at building your own tiny LLM in Python. Python foundations, good. I need the foundations. Dev habits. Setting up. I think I have a setup already figured out. Let's see. Alright, let's go like this. And I have my path to the project in. Let's see, no, not document. Users, admin, dev, Python, sandbox. And this is my project path. I don't need to open PowerShell and prepare the folder, as I've already done that. And this should be, I think I've already done this as well. If we go here, open folder, and dev, Python, sandbox, and I select this one. Because the file was not found. Oh, my test file. Well, whatever. And then we have create and activate a virtual environment. I've already done that. All these steps I've done. I don't know if I installed PyTest though. View terminal. Wait, probably done this. I won't be using Git for the beginning, as that will add unnecessary complications. I just don't want to deal with it. I mean, it's good and all, but for version control, but I don't really need it at the beginning. It's something you need when you have like big projects, but not when just doing some testing and just figuring out something went wrong when you retry. So in my settings, I have the formatter for the black formatter and some linting with rough as well, I think. Yeah, fix all rough explicit. So not on it doesn't remove variables when I save and stuff like that. Alright, before we start, one time PowerShell, Pi, and then create the virtual environment. Let's see. I actually don't know if that's what Ven stands for. I might want to check that. So in a Python project, the ven folder, the .ven, what does that stand for? What does it mean?
Sure. In a Python project, the venv or .vem folder is basically short for virtual environment. It's a directory that houses a self-contained Python environment for your project. So all your dependencies, packages, and even the Python interpreter version you're using and live inside that folder, isolated from the rest of your system. So in short, it just stands for virtual environment.
Alright, so that's right. I think I need to run .venv. Wait, backslash .venv backslash script slash activate .ps1. No. Oh, we write Python. No. Is it this? No. I mean, I'd already done that, but I thought I had to do that again. But maybe not. If I copy this, what does it say? Well, since it works, that probably means I've already activated the PS1. It has to stand for PowerShell, I think. And let's just run this as well to make sure I've actually done everything. Requirement already satisfied. Pip in, yeah, in the file path. So that exists. Open the folder in VS Code. I mean like this. No. Code dot. Did this change? I don't know. I'm confused. Alright, exercise to... Wait, no. What do you mean exercise? Oh, here. No. Start from the beginning with exercise 1. Explain what I'm doing. I don't simply want to copy paste your outputs, but to actually understand what it all means. That's the main issue I run in with when using ChatGPT. It often just assumes I know what it's talking about without actually explaining anything, and that's just annoying. I mean, the whole point of this is to learn. If I wanted to vibe code, I'd just do that, like make the AI write everything for me. But that's not the point of this. The point is to learn and to one day create my own AI. Great, let's understand exercise 1, not just run it. Write a tiny program, run it, then pick it apart and experiment so each piece makes sense. Exercise 1, hello, name from scratch. What to do and why. Create a Python file. This is just plain text with a .py extension. Write a function, main, keeps your program organized. Use input, reads text you type in the terminal. Use print plus f strings, display output and format text cleanly. Use the main guard. Lets the file run or lets the file be run or imported safely later. This mirrors how real projects are structured and avoids bad habits early. Make and run the file in PowerShell. I already created a folder, so I suppose all I have to do is create a new file in here. But let's... yeah, let's just do it here. And we'll call it hello underscore name dot py. Okay, so def. What does def mean in Python?
Def in Python is just short for define. It's the keyword you use to define a function. So whenever you see def, it's basically saying, hey, I'm about to create a function here. It's just a way of telling Python, this is the start of a new function definition.
Alright, so it's a function. I have some experience with C# from before, so I'm not completely new to programming, but it's been years since I last programmed anything, so I'm gonna treat this as like a first time programming experience. So I create the function def main, and this means the function will return nothing, I think. And then I create a variable, and the variable is input. What does can I input function read a string from standard input? The trailing new line is stripped, so it will print the string and then get something in return when I input something in the console. So first name dot strip, and I guess this one is the actual stripping. The stripping. Well, return a copy of the string with leading and trailing white space removed. So it just removes spaces. Alright, and then last equals input last name dot strip again. And then we have print f hello. First last first last exclamation point mark. And I won't be using an emoji. Why would I be using an emoji? No thank you. This has to be the f strings. Displays output and format sticks cleanly. So it's format string. What does f string stand for? Is it format strings?
Exactly, you've got it. F-string stands for formatted string in Python. It's a way to embed expressions inside string literals using these curly braces. You put an F in front of the string, and then you can just drop variables or even little expressions right inside those braces. It's a really handy and readable way to do string interpolation.
So if I put a variable inside the string, it will print it as inside an F string, it will print it as text, the value.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. When you put a variable inside those curly braces in an F string, Python will replace it with the actual value of that variable when you print it out. So it's a neat and simple way to see the value right in the string.
Alright, and then we have the, what does it call? The main guard. If underscore name underscore equals underscore main underscore in quotes, then we run main. So if this equals this, then we run the function we defined here called main, and we do this, and we return nothing after it's done. What does underscore name underscore stand for?
Sure, so the double underscore name double underscore in Python is a special built-in variable. Basically, it tells you the name of the module you're running. If you're running a script directly, then this variable will be set to the string double underscore main double underscore, which is just Python's way of saying, hey, this is the main program. If the code is being imported from another module, then it will just be set to that module's name. So it's kind of a little identifier for how the script is being run.
So if I import a script and I have that as an if statement to run a function, then that function won't actually run.
Exactly, that's the idea. If you've got that if statement that checks if name equals main, that means the code inside that block will only run if you're executing the script directly. If you're importing that script as a module in another piece of code, that block won't run automatically. So it's a nice way to separate out code that should only run when the script is the main program from code that should run when it's imported.
All right. And then we have to run it. Save first. There you saw the formatting. Created an extra space. All right, and Python hello name.py, and there we have the input printing out first name, and it's waiting for me to actually write something. I don't know. Let's do biggest last name Dicus. Hello, biggest. So that worked. Great. Oh, we have an explanation here. Great. Define main on defines a function. Functions handle steps you'll run. Function bundle steps you'll run later. Main is as a convention, the main entry point of this script. So I guess I could have called it anything like, I don't know, get name or something. And right arrow none is a type hint, meaning this function doesn't return a value. It's for humans and tools. Python runs fine out. So I don't actually need it. It's for my own benefit to see that the function actually doesn't return anything. And then we have input first name strip, input prompts, presenter input, always return string, strips, remove leading thread in white spaces, prints writes to the terminal, f string, lets you embed variables in the curly brackets inside the braces. I've always called them curly brackets, but I guess braces are another word for them. And here we have the main guard. When you run a file directly, Python sets the special variable name to main. So it's basically explaining everything here. What's that PyCache folder? I don't have a PyCache folder. I don't have a PyCache folder. It's probably not an issue, but I'm curious about what the explanation is. Totally normal. PyCache usually appears only when the file is imported as a module. If you just run a single script, Python compiles to the memory and often doesn't write a cache file, so no PyCache yet. So I suppose I should just ignore it for now. Micro experiments learn by poking. Do these one at a time and rerun the script to see the effects. Why not? Alright, so after first we can do a print function. Type of first is type first. And you'll see class string dot input always returns a string. Yes. Alright, I have to save the file as well before running it. This type of first is class string, so that's self-explanatory, I guess. White space behavior, run without the strip. Okay. So without the strip, and I put a bunch of white spaces and then like this, I suppose. And then the last name, whatever. And here we have it. It registered all these white spaces as my name. And that's why we use the strip function. String methods. What is this? These are methods on the string type. Strings know how to transform themselves. Ah, so basically I could use this variable here. When I print out my name when saying hello and then my first and last name, I could say first dot title, for example, and then last dot title. And then if I were to run this again, wait, let's remove this print here because that's kind of annoying. Run it again, and then first name. I don't know, maybe I should increase the size of this or the font here. Can I do that? Configure terminal settings. Font size. We will have something like 20. This is much better. Much better. Should probably use a bigger font here as well. How do I set my font in VS Code in my programming window?
Sure thing. To set your font in VS Code, it's actually pretty straightforward. You just
Oh,
open
sorry,
your setting.
I meant my font size, not my font.
Gotcha. No problem at all. So if you want to set your font size in VS Code, it's pretty much the same idea. You open up your settings, just go to your preferences or settings menu, and then look for something called editor font size. You can just type font size in the search bar and you'll see the option pop up. Then you can just change the number to whatever font size you like, and it'll update your programming window accordingly.
Yeah, this is much better. It was way too small before. Not for me. My screen is 4K, so I can see it just fine, but for the recording it was probably all mushy and ineligible. Ineligible? Is that how you say it? No, I don't know. It was probably like blurry as hell though. All right. What was I doing? All right, the first title here. Yeah, I already ran the program. So first name. Let's see. If I write an Angrask in lowercase, and then I don't know. Angrask here. Then it automatically titled my name. But I suppose if I did Angrask oh, sorry, Angrask the second as first name, and then last. Then each word gets capitalized. All right. F strings are mini calculators. Age text. Age text equals input age number. And we strip it. And then we could tack it on here with then F string. In 5 years you'll be int age text plus 5 dot a period I meant. So it converts because here age text has to be a string because that's what I input, a string. Yeah, it even says it here, a string. And then I use the int variable to convert a number of string to an integer. And then I add 5. And then I print it. So let's try that. First name Angrask, and then Dicus. Age, let's do 20. In 5 years, hello Angrask Dicus. In 5 years you'll be 25. So that works. What if we remove the guard? Delete the block and just write the main at the bottom, running fast it works. But if we then import the script, it will run on import, which is usually unwanted. Python Q. What does Python Q do? Is that like a temporary Python file? What? No. No name. Oh, here we have the PyCache. Exit. That worked. And it didn't run since we used this one. Is this how we comment? And if we, because now we have removed this basically, I think. So if I run Python Q again and then import hello underscore name, then it doesn't do anything anyways. So maybe I was wrong. We simply... Oh, right. I'm stupid. This has to be outside the function we defined here. If it's on the same depth, I can't fucking speak. If it's on the same line, then it will be included in the main function, and we don't want that. We want it to run even without the function running. So we do it again, Python Q, and then import hello underscore name, and now it's running. Do biggest 20. But as it says, we don't actually want this. We want it to only run if we actually run the script. Not if we import it. At least in this scenario. There might come a time when I actually want an imported script to run automatically, but not this script. Common errors you might hit, what do you mean? Name error for name frist? Oh, mistyping? No, I haven't done that. Indentation error. Python uses indentation to define blocks. Make sure the lines inside the def main are indented exactly the same. Yeah, that's the way to say it. The indentation. This is a block because it's indented inside this function, for example. And then we have the syntax error. No, I haven't done this. Syntax. What is a syntax?
So syntax is basically just a fancy word for the set of rules that define how you write code in a particular programming language. It's kind of like grammar in a spoken language. Each language has its own syntax rules that you need to follow so the computer understands what you're telling it. So in Python, for example, the syntax includes things like indentation, colons at the end of function definitions, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's just the rules of the road for writing code in any given language.
So it's basically grammar, and my spelling is perfect now. No, but it's good enough. Python command not found or similar on Windows. Yes. Hi, hello, Python is enough. Sure. I think you can run both. Hi, hello, name, .py. Yeah, both works. 6 years old. Alright, what you just learned. The mental model. A Python script runs top to bottom. That's pretty self-explanatory. You define functions, then call them. As we did. Define them, and then call them. Input blocks and return strings. Print writes in the terminal. Yes, we printed. And input also prints as it's waiting for an input. And then it stores this in a variable. And f string format value in lines inline. Format values inline. Oh yeah, format them in the same line. And then the main guard to keep files import safe, like we just saw, and the Python cache, which we generated when importing it. But I'm still wait. What does Python-q do?
So Python-q is actually a bit of a lesser known flag. What it does is it starts the Python interpreter in quiet mode. That means when you launch the interactive Python shell with the -q option, it won't print the usual welcome banner or version information. It's kind of like a minimal no frills mode. It doesn't affect how Python runs your code. It just makes the interactive prompt a little quieter. And just like that, there you go. If you have any more Python curiosities, just let me know.
So I could have just run it as Python and then do the importing like this. But I got all this information that the queue removed. Alright, that's good to know. I've never actually run Python just like by typing Python. So I was a bit confused. A small extension, optional, still exercise 1, adds on simple validation. Ooh, if not first or last, print, please enter both first and last name, return. Alright, let's get rid of this for now. No, let's keep it, why not? And then we can do if not first or not last. Print, please enter both first and last name. Netter, please netter. Please enter both first and last name. Print. Return. This shows basic conditionals if and how to return early. If not first or not last. Print, please enter both first and last name. Return. And it returns nothing. And then it just exits without... Oh, this is all backwards. This should be after this one. Like this. So we have the inputs here. And then we check if not first. If not first. If not. What does this mean? Wait, now let's do it with a voice. The line if not first or not last. What does that mean? First and last are variables.
Absolutely, I can explain that. So if you have a line like if not first or not last, and first and last are variables, what that means is that the condition is checking if either of those variables is considered falsy. In Python, a variable is falsy if it's something like an empty string, 0 or none. So that line is basically saying, if either first is not set or last is not set, then do something. In other words, if one of them's missing or empty, that condition will be true.
So, if first is empty or last is empty, then we go in here and print this, and we return. We basically skip this step and go out of the function, I think. Let's try it by doing Python hello _ name dot py. First name biggest age 2. That works. And then we do nothing, and we do hello, and then we do 4. Please enter both first and last name. And I guess we could expand on this and do if first or not last. Or not age text. Isn't both first name, last name, and age. So now if we run the script and we leave when we do this and we leave age empty, then it won't run as well. So we need to have all the variables filled with something at least to make it run. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's move on to exercise 2. I think I got everything here. At least I'm not too confused about anything specifically. Alright, awesome. Exercise 2 deepens the basics by turning text input into real numbers, organizing logic with small functions, and handling errors like a pro. Exercise 2 mini calculator, functions, types, errors. What you'll learn: functions break a problem into small reusable pieces. I suppose this is a function, so we've already covered that in a tiny way. Type conversions, string to float, and why it can fail. Error handling, try/except for friendly messages instead of crashes. Function dispatch mapping plus to the actual add function. Alright. Open your sandbox folder and create a mini calc.py. Mini calc.py. From typing import callable. Do we have an explanation? My damn mouse wheel starts lagging and I have to like violently spin it to make it function again. No, now it's working again. And we'll see here. It doesn't say. Okay, then we'll do from typing import callable. Callable is not accessed balance. I should probably show my extensions. This is my extensions that I've installed already. The black formatter for making the text like look organized. Pylons is for error handling, I think. I'm not actually sure. Let's check that. What does pylons do as an extension in VS Code?
Yeah, so pylons is basically an extension in VS Code that acts as a supercharged language server for Python. It's built by Microsoft and it's designed to give you really smart code completions, type checking, and a bunch of hateful hints as you're writing Python code. So with pylons, you'll get things like auto import suggestions, better IntelliSense, and just generally a nicer experience for writing and navigating Python in VS Code.
Why is that removing it? I thought I had the linting and formatting done well. Code action save explicit. I tried using from typing import callable in the beginning of a Python script and then hitting save, but I think rough removes it when I save the document, and I don't want that. How do I fix it?
Got it. Yeah, that's something that can happen because rough as a linter and formatter can automatically remove unused imports. So if it thinks that you're not actually using that callable import, it might just clean it up for you. To fix that, you can adjust rough settings in VS Code. There's usually a setting that controls whether it removes unused imports or not. You can either disable that specific rule or tell rough to be a bit more lenient. Just go into your settings JSON or use the VS Code settings UI.
Inside the settings JSON, inside the editor.codeAction on save, there's a source.organizeImports.rough that's set to explicit.
Right, that makes sense. So what's happening is, with that setting set to explicit, rough is running its organize imports action pretty aggressively on save. And that means it's just cleaning out what it sees as unused imports every time you hit save. So if you want to stop it from removing that callable import, you can tweak that setting. You might want to either set it to a more lenient mode or adjust rough's rules so it doesn't remove imports that you know you're going to use. That way, you keep your import in place and rough won't delete it.
What is a more lenient mode?
Yeah, so by more lenient mode, I just mean adjusting rough settings so it's not quite as strict about removing imports. Usually you can configure rough to not remove imports that might be needed later, or to just be a bit less aggressive with its cleanup. So you could go into the rough config and find the rule that deals with organizing imports and just turn it off, or set it to a mode that only removes really obviously unused imports. That way it'll be a little more lenient and let you
Because
keep
now
imports.
it's set to explicit, but I'm wondering, do you know like a value I can set it to that's more lenient?
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's set to explicit right now, one of the common more lenient options is to set it to never. If you set it to never, then rough won't also remove imports on save at all. Another option might be something like basic, depending on what rough's configuration allows, which makes it a bit less strict, but never is usually the go-to if you don't want it messing with your imports at all. So yeah, just tweak it to never or a less strict option and that should do the trick. Then rough will leave your imports alone and you can keep that callable import just as you want.
So here it says valid value is always explicit. Because I thought explicit, as you can see here, there's always explicit and never. I thought explicit was like the basic, basically. But I guess we'll set that to never. And you simply don't have it because it's very annoying to type something like this from typing import callable, and it save and it removes it again. I thought now I'm simply confused. All right, let's do it like this. This is my JSON settings. When I hit save, my unused imports keeps getting removed. How can I prevent this? Gosh, ChatGPT is so slow. At least ChatGPT 5 is so slow in the thinking mode. It's actually insane. I know I can set it to like auto mode, but on auto it's so inaccurate sometimes. It's just wild. It just makes up the most random stuff and treats it as like fact, and then like a quarter of an hour later of debugging you find out it's just been giving you bullshit answers all along and you have to start from scratch. It's much more effective to just use the thinking mode and put up with the frankly ridiculous thinking time. Ooh, here we have a chest. And we got a new item. Nice. You're seeing this because roughs on save code actions are running when you press save, and on one of the rough fixes is to remove unused imports. Black isn't doing this. Black never removes imports. Turn off rough fixes on save quickest. Change your workspace settings JSON to not run rough code actions on save. Oh, VS Code tree is explicit as run on manual save. And I save almost always manually. I like pressing Ctrl plus S because, I don't know, not saving makes me anxious or something. I don't want to lose my code. Keep imports sorting but never delete imports. This is probably what I want. but this is too annoying to deal with. It's probably better to just never have it on, and then I can turn it on later if I feel like it. Let's try this one more time. From typing import callable save. Thank God. And then we define the function to float. Text string returns float. I thought this might have this should be like wait, maybe not. I thought it was meant to be like this, but maybe the AI actually is correct here. Because this is a comment, right? It looks like a comment, but I thought comments were hashtags. What does the triple quotes do at the beginning of a function?
The triple quotes. So when you see triple quotes at the start of a function, that's a doc string. It's basically a string that describes what the function does. It's a way to document your code. So you put those triple quotes right at the top of the function, and then you write a little explanation inside them. That way when someone else or future you looks at the function, they can see exactly what it's supposed to do. Plus, tools like editors and IDEs will show that doc string when you hover over the function, so it's a super handy way to keep your code nice and clear.
Alright, I think I understood that. And I don't know why I'm not simply copying and pasting this. But now I've already started, so I might as well write the whole document string. Isn't a number like this. Clean the text strip dot place, comma, and period. Return float clean. Alright, so what are we doing here? We have defined a function, and this function will return a float, which is a variable type, a floating point number. So it's basically, because we have ints are like numbers like this, and floats are numbers like this. Something that's not a whole number is a float, while an integer is a whole number. So this function will convert a string to a float, and when we call the function, we will give it a parameter called text. And if I have a function called def2_float in parentheses text :string, what does that mean?
Sure. So when you have a function definition like that, def2float text string, What it's doing is defining a function called toFloat that takes one parameter called text. The part after the colon, string, is a type in. It's basically saying, hey, this text parameter should be a string. It doesn't enforce it at runtime, but it helps you and your editor understand what type of argument the function expects. So, in short, it's just a function that takes a string as input, and presumably inside the function, you'll convert that string into a float.
And then we have the clean variable then, that takes the text parameter variable and it strips it of white spaces and replaces commas with periods. I think. Old. Yeah, it says that old to new. Returns a copy with all occurrences of substring old replaced by new. So it replaces the commas with periods and then returns a float. Because that makes sense, because I mean this isn't a number, but this is 1.2 is a number, a floating number, but 1,2 is not. And then it returns the float to where the function was called from. And then we have def add a colon float, b colon float. That returns a float, a plus b. And this is the whole function. Wow. Def sub a colon float, b colon float. Damn. Float. Return a minus b. Float. Def mul a float b float to a float return a times b, and then we have the divide function, a colon float b colon float to a float that returns a float, and we return if b equals 0. If we divide by 0,
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice.
Great. Continue with 40 mini. So, ChatGPT being a cheapskate. Where was I? Create a specific meaningful error for the caller to handle. Raise 0 division error. Cannot divide by 0. Return, and if that doesn't happen, then we return a divided by b. So, wait, can I? Yeah, nice. So this function checks if we try to divide by 0, it raises a 0 division error. Common base class for all exceptions. Cannot divide by 0. We'll see how that works. And then we have a lookup table from text to function. Oops. Dict string callable float, float, float equals curly brackets plus equal plus add minus sub apostrophe mud slash div comma and it, oh right, there we go. So a look up table from text to a function ops a constant and they didn't explain the dictionary, I don't think. Yes, they did. Probably, yeah, here. I must have missed this. Function dispatch via dictionary ops map symbols to actual Python functions ops plus gives you the add function object. This person keeps main clean, avoids long if elif chains. If the user types an unknown operator, ops throws key error which we catch to show a friendly message. So this is a dictionary. And it has a string value and a callable class that has 2 floats and a float. Alright, I'm very confused. Let's just get on with it and I can look into it later if I don't understand it by the end. Def main return none, print tiny calculator reports plus minus and slash x text plus input first number y text equals input first second number then we have op equals input operation plus minus multiplication or division. Dot strip. And then we try x to float x text. So we call our to float function and then we input the input text we defined here to return with the float number. We try this. And I guess exceptions run if it fails to return the float. I think. And the float y text. Fn equals ops op result equals fn x y. May raise key error if op is unknown. May raise zero division error for div. Print. Oh, an F string. A formatted string. Result. Curly brackets result. So we show the result. And if it doesn't work, if we have an exception called key error, print unknown operation. Use one of, I don't want to write this again. Except value print please enter valid numbers, e.g. 3.14 or 3,14. Period. Except zero division error as e. Print e. That's a much bigger main function than last time. And then we do the security check to make sure this script only runs when called directly and not imported. As main, and then we call main, and this is wrong, like this. All right, this seems to be correct, I think. Alright, we print some text, we get some inputs, and then we try. Alright, let's see what it says about it. Try except. It doesn't really explain it, but it seems pretty self-explanatory. We try to do this, and if for some reason it raises an error here or there, then we do this instead, or this instead, or this instead, and we exit. So you only get one shot. Alright, let's try it. Python mini calc.py. First number is 5, second 5, an asterisk 25. Let's do it again, and we do 5, 5, and division, and we have a 1. And now let's do 5, and then we do a, and we do plus. Please enter the value numbers. So that works. And now we got a value error because I inputted the wrong value. Instead of inputting a string value that could be converted to a float, I inputted a character that can't be represented by a float. So it threw me an error. Alright. I think I understand. I'm still a bit confused about this dictionary though. It says this must mean it sets a constant, like a variable that's universal in this, that can't be changed, I guess. That might just be my C# knowledge leaking through though. If I have a variable called OPS colon dict for dictionary, is that a constant then?
Not necessarily. The type hint dict just tells you that the variable ops is expected to be dictionary, but it doesn't make it a constant. In Python, variables are mutable by default, so even if you name it in all caps like ops, it's more of a naming convention that suggests it's meant to be treated as a constant. If you really want to make it immutable, you'd have to use something like a mapping or a frozen set, or just rely on good coding practices. But in short, it's not strictly a constant just by having that type in.
Because it says OPS colon dict brackets string string comma callable bracket float comma float closing bracket comma float closing bracket equals curly bracket, and then we have some line items, and then it's closing with another curly bracket, and it's the comment for it is a lookup table from text to function.
Got it. That definitely helps clarify things. So in this case, the type hint is saying that ops is a dictionary where the keys are strings and the values are tuples. Each tuple has 3 elements. The first element is a callable that takes a float and returns a float, and then the second and third elements are also floats. So it's essentially a structured way to store a mapping from some text to a function and some associated values. But even with that type hint, it doesn't make it immutable. It just helps with clarity and type checking. So it's still changeable, but it's definitely well documented.
So basically this fn variable is only a way to filter the input, I think. Like it won't record this, it won't use the operator input unless it's one of these values, and it will throw an error instead on an operation. So it's basically a filter, I think. At least this implementation of the dictionary is a filter. Dictionaries themselves aren't filters, I don't think, but yeah, let's just run with that. If I get confused later, I can just look it up again. See what a function object looks like. Sure, why not? I'm curious. Print ops plus minus multiplication and division. Function add at, function sub at, function mul at, function div at. Well, this doesn't explain anything. See what a function object looks like. So this is a function object, I suppose. And this has to be like an identifier. Or a location, perhaps. Let's try... two, 5. Seven. Calls add. Oh, that makes so much more sense. Yeah, that makes so much more sense. So if it's... This dictionary is... Of course, this dictionary is actually helping to call these functions and then return the value. I never even thought about me never using like the functions I established up here. I just forgot about them and didn't even question why the program ran at all. Weird. So this is basically a shortcut then to show that it works. Well, add a new operation. Let's do that as a last thing for today. Def pow for power, I suppose. A as a float, B as a float, and we return a float. A sometimes B. So this is probably then power by. So let's, for example, a 4 raised by the power of 5 or whatever. A raised by the power of B. And it wants to format it like that, obviously. Oh, then we have to do it here as well, yes. And so if I do it like that, then we call how underscore. And this should actually be everything we have to add to make this work. Yeah. And we need to restart it. Alright, let's do 2, 8, 2 to the power of 8 is 256, which is correct. Alright, common pitfalls. I haven't had any pitfalls at all so far, I don't think. I can't remember having any pitfalls at least. Okay, mental model to keep. Parse, validate, compute, report. Is a clean flow for command line inputs. I think that's what CLI stands for, command line inputs. Does CLI or CLI stand for command line input?
Close, but it actually stands for command line interface. It's the interface that allows you to interact with your computer
Interface, that was the one.
by
yeah.
typing commands in a terminal or command prompt rather than using a graphical user interface. So it's a super handy way to run programs and scripts directly from the command line.
I mixed them up. Command line interface, of course. Keep parsing and validation near input boundaries. Keep parsing and input and validation. They mean to not. It's best to not split it up. So we have. Yeah, I suppose this is parsing and everything here is very close to each other. But keep parsing and validation near input boundaries. Can you expand on this? Oh, a new item. A duplicate, whatever. Here's what key parsing relation near input boundaries means, why it helps, and how to apply it in your mini calculator and later projects. What is an input boundary? A place where external data enters your program, either through the terminal, files, network, environment variables, configs. At the boundary, data is just bytes/strings. Inside your program, you want clean, well-typed values with clear guarantees. The pattern parse, validate, normalize, compute report, parse/normalize external text into internal types. Validate is it a number in range, allow operation. Compute with small pure functions that assume valid inputs. Report, format, results, print, return. Your to-float is a step 1, 2. Parse and validate. It converts the normalized text to, yeah, that makes sense. And raises values if it can't. It doesn't raise a... Does it? I mean, it raises a value here. When I try it. Oh yeah, of course. It raises a value error because if it can't convert the text to a float, it will raise a value error, which then we catch here with the exception, and then we explain the value error. That makes sense. Why keep parsing relation at the edges? Testability, pure math function, trivial to test. Reuse, same compute code works with clear files, HTTP, because it doesn't care what inputs came from. Clarity, one place to handle. What if the user typed garbage? Errors handling, so it's just basically good practice. Where do exceptions get handled? In the domain functions, raise meaningful exceptions. Raise meaningful exceptions. So it doesn't print automatically, but we have it printing here, I suppose. Boundary code, your main slash CLI catches exceptions and turns them into friendly messages. So it prevents the program from crashing completely and just throws an error message and quits. Well, that's friendly. What not to do? Tight coupling. Parsing inside compute functions. This makes sense. Now every caller must pass strings you can't reuse add with numbers from another source. Print inside compute functions. Alright. You can't test or reuse it cleanly. Normalize belongs to boundary. Trim spaces. Normalization belongs at the boundary. Trim spaces handle decimal commas, case follow operations. Operators. We never did that though. I suppose it wasn't needed in this case. Alright, this is getting a bit too complex for now. And wait. Common pitfalls and fixes. Mental multi creep. Here we go. Keep use. Oh yeah, functions return values as we see here. It just returns floating values. There's no printing going on. We print it ourselves later here, the result. Keep user messages in one place. The main function catching exceptions and turning them into friendly output, yes. Make it loop until the user quits. Alright, let's do that as well. Can't take too long. While true, do this. Wait, no, with we need to define a def session. Returning nothing while true, and then we use this xtext I probably have to do this from the beginning because it's a bit different. First number or you to quit dot strip if x underscore text dot lower is equal to q break y underscore text equals input second number op equals input operation dot strip. Try x equals 2. Wait, is this the same? It's the same as down here. The exception is smaller though. Fn oops, result. We don't have the result here though. I suppose it doesn't matter. I can just as well use this this code here. Indent that. This is it, I think. Then we remove everything here and we call session instead. So while true, this basically means that while this variable is true, and true is a boolean and it means true, I think. How do we explain true? There's true and there's false. So this basically while oh, you're right. So normally you would have a variable here. So while, let's say, x equals 2, then do this. But if we have while true, then that means this loop will run forever. It will basically never stop, because it will stop as soon as we hit the break here. But when it reaches the end, it will just jump back to the beginning and start again, and do it again and again and again and again, unless we use the first input here and input the letter Q. Then it will break the loop, and then we exit the loop. And since we have nothing else in the main function, that's it. The program will close. I think I'm right. Tiny calculator, first number or Q to quit. Let's try Q, and it quits. Great. And then we do 5. Second number 5. Let's do minus this time. Result 0. And now we're at the beginning again. First number 4, 2, 2, and we do a multiplication 8, and we're at the beginning again. First number or Q to quit. So that worked, and that means we have basically finished exercise 2. Yeah, this is it. Great. Oof, I'm beat. My brain feels like mush. Oh, yeah. So exercise 3 next time. Yeah. This is it for today.